Hello, I'm Bryon Wilfert, and this is MP Report. And I'm very pleased today to have as my guest the Honourable Dr. Keith Martin. And Keith, welcome, and great to see you. Keith is not only a renowned Member of Parliament who's done a lot of work, particularly in the areas of maternal medicine, but also dealing with the environment. One of the projects that Keith is involved in is in northern Pakistan, in partnership with Compassionate Resource Warehouse and also with Physicians Travel Packs, where he is trying to get this over to Pakistan to help, particularly in the area of maternal health. And I think it's a great project, and Keith's going to talk about it today, and then talk about our International Conservation Caucus.
Well, Bryon, it's a pleasure to be on your video show, and thank you very much for doing this. What we have seen is that we've been getting medical resources to areas that have been chronically underserviced, and one of those, as you mentioned, is in a remote area of Pakistan, working with Pakistanis on the ground, and also a Canadian who happens to be there. So by being able to work with people on the ground, we identify what their needs are, and then we work with partners here in Canada, such as Health Partners International Canada, which is a philanthropic wing of drug companies. 90% of those drugs are actually donated by research-based companies, and also with groups like Compassionate Resource Warehouse, a group in Victoria, in Esquimalt, in my riding actually.
Yes.
And so that combination of those two enables us to get resources where they're needed. So we've managed to get resources into the Eastern Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Heal Africa Hospital, a hospital, the only tertiary care hospital that happens to be in the worst place in the world, and got medications into the Sudan, into Zimbabwe, into Ghana, and these are medical supplies based on need.
And what got you focused on northern Pakistan in particular?
Well, the need is acute and horrific. And my assistant Jesse Cressman Dickinson and others, we received this request. The need is there. They did a very good job of outlining what they wanted. And the combination of a needs list with a reliable partner on the ground, matching that up to the assets that we have here, will enable us to be able to deliver urgently needed medical equipment to where it is. I mean, there's other areas. You've done phenomenal work in defense, being our defense critic at one time and sitting on the committee, being the vice chair. The Murway Hospital in Kandahar, I think many of your viewers would be shocked to know that hospitals in Kandahar city and in Kabul don't even have the ability to breathe for somebody and use general anesthetics. So you have surgeons who are operating, doing major surgery on people under local anesthetic. That is cruel and shocking. And why hasn't CETA actually taken an active approach to dealing with these urgent
Absolutely.
needs?
Dealing with the basics is absolutely fundamental. That's where your role comes in very strongly, because you've been at the United Nations, you've been around the world speaking on these kind of issues, both from a physician standpoint, but also as a parliamentarian. And I think that's absolutely essential in getting the message out. You talk about CETA. Is CETA involved in any of these projects that you're talking about, or do you find that dealing with third-party, non-governmental agencies are much more effective?
Well, dealing with third parties is always more effective, and we have actually brought in from time to time. CETA has come up to be a partner. They did that on the Zimbabwe shipment of 67,000 doses of meds we got to treat the cholera outbreak a year ago. So they have occasionally come up to be a partner. They can do so much more. For example, the shipment to Pakistan the medical side of it is a $270,000 shipment, wholesale, and we need just $19,000 to be able to get that shipment to where it's going. So there's a huge leveraging effect, but it's really tough to get through CETA. It's just such a creaky, ossified organization, and if we can work with the minister to make it happen, it happens. But it shouldn't be that way. There should be an easier process to do things like this.
So you need to raise $19,000 to leverage basically $260,000.
That's wholesale. That's not even.
Wow.
So the last one we got was $300,000. We actually got from the government for the cholera outbreak. for $5 million worth of medications.
Wow.
And when we were in government,
Yes.
we managed to get $16 million of medications donated, lock, stock, and barrel, to treat the tsunami, the areas affected by the tsunami. It actually went to Sri Lanka, actually. We received the needs list from the WHO, the World Health Organization. We got those needs lists, we took it to the drug companies. The drug companies filled this out in a couple of weeks, and I give them full credit for doing this. And we managed to rent an Antonov plane, and we got those medications in a timely fashion to the tsunami-affected area in Southeast Asia. And that was a $16 million donated supply of medications, the largest private donation in the world.
There's no question, Keith, you are very good at bridge building. You're very good at building those alliances, particularly with not only the private sector, with NGOs on the ground, but I think what you are demonstrating is that one member of Parliament can really make a difference in the lives of not only thousands of people, but often tens of thousands of people. Particularly, I know of your work in Zimbabwe last time, and I think that really demonstrates when we talk about members of Parliament on the Hill, we really need to focus on the fact that we all want to get our own niche. What is it that we're particularly good at? And when you have someone like Keith, who has both the medical background and the policy-making background, it really does make a significant difference, and I want to congratulate you for that. But in terms of the $19,000, how do you go about raising that kind of money? Or how could people assist if they wanted to help in that regard?
Well, they can donate directly to Health Partners International Canada, HPIC, HPIC, and they can look at it on the web. Donating money, they receive a tax credit for it. The other thing we're doing is we're asking the diaspora that is here, the Pakistani diaspora, to donate funds for this through HPIC. So Health Partners is the receiving agency. People do receive a tax credit for it. Those monies can be directed to the shipment, and that's how we've been able to get resources to pay for these urgently needed medical supplies. If you looked at the pictures of where these medications are going, Bryon, people, I think, would be shocked and heartbroken. Essentially, where women deliver babies is basically a steel bed with a pail beside it and a rickety pole that they may be able to hang an IV up if they have IV fluids there. But essentially, that's it. Plastic pail, steel bed, and that's where women deliver. And women who can be in extreme dire stress and in need of some urgent medical care as they would for their baby. And that's just not there. So this will help to survive, help to save, I think, a lot of people's lives and make their environment when they're sick more comfortable.
Keith, you certainly demonstrate the liberal creed when it comes to compassion, when it comes to understanding. I think that is the kind of thing that Canadians can also take pride in, that Canada, through people like yourself, are out there in the forefront doing these kind of very worthwhile and needed projects for people. I think people would be shocked given what you've demonstrated.
But I thank you, Bryon, for actually doing this, because what you're doing by having this video, by telling the stories of the House and issues, as you always have, is you're being a constructive agent for change by being able to deal with solutions to problems. So I thank you for doing this and engaging the public so we can work together with our citizens to deal with our domestic problems and also those that extend beyond our borders.
Well, I thank you. It's unfortunate that Keith recently announced that he will be retiring from federal politics after a distinguished career. Keith was first elected in 1993 from the riding of Esquimalt-Wanufuka, and I had the pleasure actually this June to visit Keith and be part of the 100th anniversary of the Canadian Navy, which was probably the best event I have ever attended. Keith was in charge of the weather. The water was just like glass. It was a sunny day. But again, a very important naval facility. And Keith has worked with me on the National Defense Committee. And again, an important issue in terms of protecting our coastlines, etc., around not only for Canada, but around the world. But Keith, you have another area of particular interest, and that has to do with the environment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we started about 3 years ago. I started Canada's first International Conservation Caucus. And the purpose of this, Bryon, was to deal with environmental issues here at home and abroad. And so the caucus we bring in top scientists from around the world to tell their stories and give us the scientific basis for some of the intractable environmental challenges we face here at home and abroad. So we've got people like Dr. Jane Goodall, who everybody knows, the primatologist, Sandra Postel, the world-famous freshwater expert. We just had the Canadian expert on the trafficking of endangered species. So we started a new website called the www.icforum.info, International Conservation Forum. And also my assistant, Jeff Guinard, who's in charge of this, we put together a new magazine called The Horn. And on it, I hope to be able to give people a chance to work on various crises taking place, environmental crises. We obviously have the crisis here at home for aquatic problems we have, fish, cod, salmon, deforestation. Internationally, we have two campaigns, one on the tiger, the other one on the rhino, because both are being poached to extinction. And can you imagine a world without tigers or rhinos? It'd be horrific. But the real end goal of this is to connect the environmental side with the health side. Because we know that environmental health and environmental security is intimately entwined with human security. And what I'm trying to do, Bryon, is break the silos down to connect the two, because it's not only about protecting biodiversity for biodiversity's sake, but those species like tigers, rhinos, and others are actually, people can use those biospheres to generate funds when people go to visit those areas. They pay a lot of money. And those monies can then be generated and turned back for jobs, primary health care and education in rural areas. And that is the holy grail, connecting both of those up.
Well, when we say that one person can make a difference, I think Keith has certainly demonstrated that. I want to thank you, Keith, for being part of my program today. I want to wish you the very best. I also have a large diaspora of people of Pakistani descent, and I'm particularly pleased that you provided that website. If you could do it one more time, just so that we want to get that information out to my constituents.
Well, it's to donate money for the medical shipments to Pakistan. Look at Health Partners International Canada, or HPIC.Canada, HPIC Canada. You can Google it, and if they donate some money for the shipment to Pakistan, that would be great. And Bryon, again, thank you very much for all your service. It's been an honor to work with you and in common to serve the men and women in our Canadian forces, and you've really done a phenomenal job on defense and all the other projects you do. So it's great to call you not only a colleague, but a friend.
Thank you. This has been Bryon Wilfert, Member of Parliament for Richmond Hill, and this has been MP Report. Thank you for watching.